So I have this image in Photoshop and it's very high resolution. It is 3100 by 2084 pixels. And I want to expand it and make it wider. So if I grab my crop tool and come out, there is an issue. I've got things set the way I want. Under fill, I have Generative Expand, which uses AI to create either side of the image, and I click tick. So I've now expanded my image, but the problem is, now once I choose which one I want to keep, I think I like this one, I zoom in, and the resolution drops dramatically from one side to the other. It's sharp on the left, but blurry on the right. This is because Generative Fill will only render at a window of 1024 by 1024 pixels, and this image is 5000 by 2000 pixels. So we've got incredibly low res imagery either side. So I do have a solution. It's not the best, but it does help if you really need to make this a higher resolution image. I'm going to choose my rectangular marquee tool and hold down Shift so it's nice and square. And you'll see the width and the height following me around. I need to drag it down until it's just under or right on 1024 by 1024. I'm going to say here it's about 1019, which is good enough. And I've got to create a new layer. And I'm going to go to my paint bucket tool. I'm going to fill that layer with that color. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my I'm going to deselect by Control D or Command D. I'll go to my quick mask tool and I'm going to go to my color palette and I come down about halfway till I choose about a 50% gray. Hit OK, and then I fill that quick mask with 50% gray. I hit Q to exit, or this button, and now I hit delete while having this layer selected with the cube, and now I have a 50% transparent cube. Now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this cube up over here, and I've checked that it overlaps. In this particular instance it does. I can see where the quality goes from sharp to blurry, and I've got the cube just above it. And I'm going to actually just duplicate this cube and move it into position. You can see we've got a slight overlap here, so I can duplicate both these layers this time, move it to the other side. I make sure it covers any issue with the quality, so I can see that the overlap's actually here. I'm going to have to move these across a little bit, and then I'm going to have to actually duplicate and try again over here. So what I've done is I've filled all the areas I filled before with these 50% sort of gray cubes, and I need to be able to see on the preview over here where they are, because I'm going to turn them all off. I'm going to click here to create a new layer, and with this cube here I can see on the top right, I'm going to control click on that preview, and it has selected that area even though you can't see it. If I go into my quick mask, you can see this area is selected at about 50%. So you can't see it while it's selected, but you can use Generative Fill. I go in, I hit Generative Fill, I leave it blank, and I hit Generate. And it will reference what's underneath a bit, but not perfectly. And I can see here, not so much here because of where it is. I can switch, so we're about here. The resolution has improved. This is 100%. This is zoomed in. If I turn this layer off, you can see how fuzzy it gets here. And it improves, and it has actually gone for that higher resolution there. This is zoomed in. Again, this is at 100%, and along here, it's a bit hard to see because of the clouds, but I can pick the one I think looks best, maybe that one, and move on. And I repeat that process. So then I move to the next layer. So I choose this bottom corner, which is where we're really going to see the difference. I hold Control, click. Again, it says the selection's not there. I click OK, and I hit Generative Fill. I leave it blank and hit Generate. Once again, now I can zoom in, choose the one I think looks best, and you can see here, this is the original and this is the Generative Fill. It's still a little bit blurry, but the resolution is actually the same. Whereas if I turn the layer off again, you can see how there's a vast difference from here to there. This is a little bit more doable. However, Generative Fill still doesn't quite match the texture of old photos, like with the grain and things like that, but it is definitely an improvement. So I can choose the one I like, which might be this one. And I'm going to speed ahead, but essentially I do the same process with the next 4 squares over here, but I do them one at a time. Okay, so we've got our layers all generated. Now, it's a bit hard to follow when you're not doing it yourself, and you have to kind of trust what you're doing a little bit. But essentially, I've got these layers here. These 6 layers are the layers I have added. So I'm actually going to group those, and then I'm going to grab these other ones here, group those as well. I'm going to just turn that one off. So group 1 is what we've generated. Group 2 is just our transparent blocks. So again, if I come back over here, we can see the resolution is a bit better. It still has a blurriness to it, but if I turn that off, you can see how it's much worse over here than when I turn it on. So while what we got isn't perfect, it is high resolution, but there's more that we can do. For instance, over here is probably where we notice it the most. What I can do is duplicate this layer by dragging it over the plus symbol. I turn off the original. I'm going to go to right click, convert to smart object. So now what I can do is run a few filters to sharpen it up. So you can see here, if I zoom in, I can see where the line is, where it changes. So we've got a sharp rock over here and a bit of a blurrier one over there. So now we can start to go into things like filter, sharpen, and sharpen edges to start to sharpen that up a little bit. And of course, we can also try other things like unsmart or smart sharpen and see what results we get. This is a bit too full on, so we'll bring that amount back. So we can use some of these sharpening filters to try and make things a little more natural again. Now there is still a little bit of a line here, which is unfortunate, but we'll get to that soon. The other thing is, again, we've got some grain over here, but not over there. So what we can also do then is go to filter, noise, and we can add noise, bring that down. It's going to be an absolutely minuscule amount. And because it's a smart object, we can come back and edit this. So I've got like 1.05%. I can also go Gaussian and try see what I think looks best there. So I can actually fake the grain a bit. It's a little bit too heavy at the top here. So we'll bring it down so it's just there. And we've been able to sort of introduce some noise and get it looking a bit more natural. It's still not perfect, but it's looking pretty good. So what do we do with these areas here where we have the lines? You can do this by eye. I don't think it's as important, but again, I'm going to hit Control. Now I'm going to hit Control A to select the entire image. I'm going to edit, copy merged, and then edit, paste. Because I want to copy this whole image over so I can make some edits. And if I need to, I can always just delete it and start again. But I'm going to use the remove tool. So I come here to our paintbrush tool and I choose the paintbrush. I come here to our little band-aid spot healing brush tool and I choose the remove tool. Now I do make the size about that size, and where I can notice the line, I just kind of paint over. So where I've got it down here, I paint over it a bit here and just kind of blend that line in, and I do a little piece at a time. And that line does start to disappear. We can see it very sharp here if you're looking hard enough. So again, I can just paint and it sort of will blend that line in a bit. It's actually changed the color a bit, so I'm going to undo and do a smaller piece. And go from there. So you can see how we're able to kind of fix up some of those lines. Now remember, it is generative fill, it's not perfect. AI is still not perfect, but considering what we've had to work with, I think that this does help take care of a lot of that issue of the resolution, but you do still need to do a little bit of editing just to get it to exactly where you want. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, consider giving it a try. It's not perfect, but it is something you can play with and see what results you can get. More detailed scenes, you can have things blend in more easily. So hope you found that useful. If you did, please consider giving it a like. Otherwise, hope to see you again next time. Have a great day.